Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for Tomb Raider by Crystal Dynamics and published by Square Enix. I'm Roy Manan, and with me today is Just Impressions. How you doing?
Doing all right.
Awesome. So for those of you who don't know, Sinister's on vacation, a very non-sanctioned vacation, but he's on one, so won't be here for this one and the next one. So
Yeah, well, I'll pick up the slack.
yeah, we'll talk enough for him anyway. So, like I said, this week's Tomb Raider, and first off, for those of you who don't know, this is a complete reboot of the original series. So, in terms of Tomb Raider past, I have played the original, two, Angel of Darkness, and Underworld, and Anniversary, and that's it. They were okay. I never really got into them, but they had their moments. Or impressions.
I did play the original. I never beat it, but it was because it's really old. I just wanted to try it. But I have played several installments that came out with the current gen consoles, PS3, namely, I want to say Underworld. We think it was probably Legends, and one of them that involved Atlantis. But I never, like you, I could never really get the hang of it. I could never really finish it because the mechanics were so, they couldn't get it right, I guess. So that's why I really feel this reboot is long overdue, and I was really excited when I heard it was going to be done by Square. So yeah.
All right, so there's our past. So the story of Tomb Raider revolves around a female named Lara Croft. If you pronounce it Laura, apparently you're saying it wrong, but I think it's Laura anyway. So anyway, this one is basically an origin story. It explains why Laura is a Tomb Raider and how
Laura.
she kicks or Laura. Yeah, see, it doesn't freaking matter. People at Crystal Dynamics, why? Or whoever decided it's Lara, they need to pay a price for that. Everybody I know says it's Laura. Anyway, you get shipwrecked on an island due to crazy storms, and you're just trying to survive craziness from animals to crazy people on the island to extreme weather, and it's awesome. The story of this one's actually really captivating. I love it. Impressions?
So definitely a good, very fresh start. You're thrown right into the thick of things. Um, like the first thing that happens to you is a shipwreck, and very immediate and abrupt exposition, and you find yourself on this island, like you say. At first, you're just trying to survive, but then as you progress through the game, you realize there's something deeper, something going on the island that you'll figure out as you go. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I'm about to say I don't want to spoil it because the story for this one is very good. It's definitely better than some of the past ones, especially with in character development. It's also a lot better than in past ones.
Yeah, I forget. I don't know if you stressed it, but you did say reboot, but it's also an origin story as far as the reboot is concerned.
Yeah, it's a reboot and origin.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who missed that, yes, it's both those. But yeah, it does a good job. I kind of want to see what they do next.
It's also I really like what they did with the character of Lara Croft compared to the badass that has long been established as. It's nice to see where that comes from, because there's a complete contrast in personality as far as the Lara we were introduced to at the beginning of this game, completely inexperienced, completely uh, unaware, I guess, of how the world works just yet, as opposed to the seasoned warrior that we know her as.
Yeah, she doesn't have, like I said, a lot of character development in this one, and it is nice to see her turn into the badass as the game goes on.
Yep.
So that's it with story, because like I said, I don't want to get into spoilers. Impression doesn't want to get into spoilers because the story is definitely worth playing through. So we're gonna just jump straight into gameplay out here. So gameplay it's a third-person shooter for the most part.
Platformer as well.
Yeah, platformer via kind of Uncharted-y. Actually, very
Very much like
Uncharted-y.
Uncharted. I don't know. Is there a term for the thing where you're climbing around stuff yet? Is that platforming?
I think it's adventure.
Adventure. Okay.
Like an adventure, kind of action adventure. Technically, I think that's what this game's labeled as. If you know, put it in a comment, because I've played Uncharted and all those ones. And I have no idea what these kind of games are called.
I would say it's a relatively new format as far as gameplay is concerned.
Well, that's because a lot of games haven't tried it. I mean, really, the only games I can think of is Uncharted and Tomb Raider.
So I guess it's developing as far as the genre is concerned, and maybe they're obviously the pioneers in it, and we'll see if they come up with a name for it later,
Yeah.
or if it's really just an expansion of platformer.
Yeah. So anyway, the shooting wise, it's very simple. You get a little, crosshair, turns red when you can hit something. You pull trigger, and that's pretty much it for shooting. I liked it. It worked very well. It was very solid. The bow and arrow was awesome, especially because you could hold it in the circle would go in. That's how you have max stress and then shoot people in the head with it.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
It was also pretty. I think it was pretty well thought out as far as how the bow worked, because in other past games where you have a bow and arrow, it's sometimes tricky as far as how you want to put away the arrow and choose not to fire, and it's obviously very critical considering there's a huge stealth element in this game. So I like that they took that into account, and I just thought it was a good catch on their part.
And since you brought it up, let's talk the stealth mechanics in this one a little more and go into kind of the cover system as well. There are certain times where you have to hide, and the best way to take out people is sneaking up behind them and assassinating them or shooting them in the head with an arrow. This causes enemies to fall without anybody noticing, and you can pretty much just stealth your way through it via Metal Gear Solid style.
Yeah, I really appreciated that part of it too, especially where you can make noise, like a la Metal Gear, where you knock on the walls. In this case, you use the bow. You shoot an arrow, and then they'll hear the sound from the wall. So you pretty much have the option, like you said, to stealth kill the enemies, or it's possible to avoid them altogether if you do it right.
Except if you don't kill them, you don't get experience points, so that was a waste of time.
It depends, because whether or not it's the mode where you're forced to hide.
Oh yeah.
You can't be spotted at all, and that's obviously when that comes in handy, as opposed to whether or not either you're not in the mood for a fight, or you don't have the equipment to take them out. But even then, I like that it's up to you. You're not forced into one way or another.
Now, the main component of stealth is cover. That's the easiest way to obviously hide from things. And the way cover works in this one is you pretty much just walk up to a wall, and she will duck behind it. It is both nice and annoying.
Well, you do push circle to enter cover. You have to crouch.
I never did that. I just walked up to a wall.
Okay, maybe there's a context-sensitive element to it as well.
I don't know.
I always under the impression it just had to be a waist-high wall.
Chest-high wall.
Chest-high, okay, well, yeah.
Chest-high wall.
A high enough wall that you could crouch under, cover.
Yeah.
Take cover under, so yeah.
At least the way I've noticed cover, I mean, it's you walk up to it and she takes cover for the most part. I didn't notice you have to hit any button. But anyway, once again, my problem with it is, like I said, if I'm playing it right and, I am noticing that, is there's certain times I don't want to be in cover, and it's kind of annoying when characters do that. But once again, it's also very nice because I just have to run into a wall if I want to go in cover. So, picky, I guess. On my case, I'm just being nitpicky on cover. I mean, it works.
Yeah, cover's always been a tricky system to implement. I've seen it at its best and at its worst, but I'm satisfied with this one. So.
That's a good way to say it. It's satisfy. I can't say that word.
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory. Thank you. In terms of this game, it works. So the next system I want to go into is climbing, and obviously getting around the environment. So there's obviously you just run up. There's certain cliffs you can climb up, and then you also get a climbing axe.
Yeah. Climbing. I guess that's the only thing to call it.
Yeah, climbing axe, and you use that to climb certain surfaces. It's very easy. It's nice. You can easily tell what's climbable, what's not, and it works. It's very much Uncharted in terms of the mechanics of it.
It's very specific, like you said, what kind of wall you can climb on. It's not like Uncharted where I found myself literally circling the entire room trying to figure out what the grabbable ledge is.
Yeah, that's true.
So either there's a wall you can kind of scamper up, or there's the wall that has the surface that you can attack with you can hook onto with the pickaxe.
Those walls are very easy to spot.
Yeah.
So climbing works really well. I enjoyed it. Ziplining was also kind of fun. So with that, not much to say on that one.
Do you want to include like the platforming element?
Let's go into the platformer as well. since we're climbing. Let's just talk about getting around the map in general.
Mm-hmm.
But platforming was really nice, especially in the tombs, where there's some puzzles in this game. I didn't really consider them puzzles because they're all very easy, but definitely platforming elements work.
It's in the spirit of the game, so
yeah. No, it's in the spirit, so it works. But I felt platformer worked really well. It's like, once again, it's very much Uncharted, but Uncharted did it right, and this game does it right as well.
They seem to. One thing I noticed is they always put the ledge or the surface you're going to grab like at just the right distance where
Yes.
it seriously looks like you were not going to make it. You kind of just have to go for it, and it's like, oh my god, can I make that? And then when you actually make the jump, it's kind of there's just something satisfying about the suspense, I guess, that they implemented in there. So
yeah, it's very nice. So, but yeah, no, like I said, later in the game you get a couple more items that allow you to change the environment to some extent or add things to the environment. I'm not going to say what it is. But
well,
those help.
We can get away with mentioning, I think, the torch. That's pretty.
Well, it's not the torch. The torch is obvious, though. That thing you can burn down.
Yeah, so you have, well, let's get into that then, I guess. You have this torch. A primary mechanic as far as the exploration element is concerned is you have to find the burnable objects. I don't know if it's burnable, flammable objects.
Flammable.
And that either gives you salvage or that gives you another route you can explore, or if anything, it's what lets you progress out of the room. But it's basically, it's interesting that they chose that as far as a primary mechanic for exploration.
Well, it makes sense, because most of the time you're using a torch is you're in caves or in a tomb, and usually there's not any natural light source in those. So it makes sense to have a torch. But yeah, I also like just as a side note, I like the lighting of the fires.
Oh yeah, very well lit, very well rendered.
Yes, very moody. All right, so with that, I want to get into, since you mentioned salvage, just get into the upgrade system and skills. So in this game, like we mentioned earlier, when you do stuff in the game, kill people, find things, you get experience points. They'll get enough experience points, you'll unlock a skill point. These skill points can be put into one of 3 trees that I know of. And that's all I've unlocked at this point. I'm pretty sure there's only 3.
There's only 3.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now you get them. It's part of the collector's edition, I think. I remember there's you get 3 iron-on patches.
Oh, okay. So anyway, one of them is is a survival thing, so you get more like salvage and see things better. Oh, we'll talk about something later. I just remembered something. Anyway, there's a hunter tree, which allows you to shoot better, and then a melee tree, so you can punch things better with your axe.
Yeah, definitely with the hunter. The first thing I got was retrieve your arrows. It's the most useful thing ever.
See, I got all the ones that increase the salvage I got first, and then I got the arrows.
Yeah, in retrospect, I probably should have done that, but yeah, whatever.
No, I definitely got the arrows very early on. I didn't touch the hunter tree or the melee tree for the most part till later in the game. Just because we'll talk about salvage now. Around the map, you can find like boxes and crates and other random things.
And things you burn as well. Yeah.
And things you burn. And they will give you salvage. You also find it on enemies if you get a skill sometimes. But other than that, you collect salvage and you use these to upgrade your weapons. Weapons require a certain amount of salvage to upgrade a component. So then you spend it, and that kind of, whatever you upgrade gets that upgrade.
Then obviously with each upgrade, it increases in increments the amount of salvage you need to build it higher.
Right. There's also component parts that you can find. Component parts allow you to add an additional like customization thing that is not there at the beginning, but will unlock something. That's just a new mod for a gun. And I like both the skill system and the salvage system. I think work very well. Both of them aren't broken to the point to where you can really not worry about it and just get everything. You have to pay salvage. I know that you have to pay attention to. You need to find salvage.
You do, yeah. I like though that they limited it to just 1 meter, like salvage.
Yes.
Not like you have to collect strings, you have to collect metal, you have to collect whatever. I like that it's just 1 meter of salvage that you can distribute to whatever item you're trying to level.
Yeah.
So it's there. The level up meter obviously is there, but they kept it simple.
Yeah. Both the interfaces for these are very simple, and they explain it very, very well. And once they tell you, it's not like complicated. Like I say, you just go down the list and tell you exactly what each mod does, and you spend the salvage on it. But yeah, salvage isn't broke. You won't get a ton of it at once, so you just have
It's
to.
not, it's not like Far Cry where you level up before half the game,
Yeah,
which actually was fun, but whatever.
yeah.
For the sake of the story that goes along with Tomb Raider, it's kind of necessary to be at a certain pace.
Well, I think that works with this one because where you are stranded on an island with a bunch of broken stuff.
Hmm.
You have to salvage what you can, and it's not like you can salvage everything you find
Yeah.
in reality. So it works well for in terms of story and just as mechanic wise, and it just makes sense in general. But limit salvage. But like I said, you can't salvage everything you find. So that's those ones. So the next one I'm going to go into is QuickTime events. Normally I don't talk about QuickTime events, but in recent times QuickTime events have become more prevalent. So I want to talk about those on Tomb Raider. They are not used a whole lot, but when they are used, they make sense and work.
I agree. It's used, yeah. It's appropriate when they use it. Because, well, I mean, do you want to give an example? I guess the wolves would be a good example.
Yeah, the wolves.
Yeah, so a certain portion of the game focuses on you being attacked by wolves. And while you can't engage them normally, if they lunge at you, I mean, it slows down, and you can actually manually shoot a wolf in slow motion, which is, I mean,
It's nice.
it's not. I mean, technically, it's not even a quick time event. It's just slow mo.
Yeah.
But that's one of the more prevalent ones that happens every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, most of the QuickTime events in this game happen at the very beginning. Once you get past like the first escape, you're pretty much done with QuickTime events for the most part. There's, once again, they're still there, but they're used so sparingly that they're not a problem.
Yeah,
Some
that would be.
games
Yeah, sorry. I guess it overlaps really closely with context-sensitive events, like the stealth thing, the stealth takedown for one thing. But the other one that I think is used pretty recurringly is the ledge grab, because when you're platforming and you're trying to reach a ledge, you aren't guaranteed to go latch on always. You have to press square, for example, on the PS3 to grab on, which is good. It keeps you on your toes. You're not just kind of relaxing and parkouring and climbing your way through everything at your leisure.
Right, but you're given enough time to where, you're not going to be punished if for some reason you have slow reflexes. There's only a couple times where you're going to, you have to be a little quicker, but most of them you have plenty of time to push the button.
I don't know what it was, but admittedly for a while there, some of the QuickTime events at the beginning, I couldn't get the timing down for whatever. I got it down right. I got it down after. I don't know why it didn't click for me at the beginning.
Oh, I think I know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah. I wonder if that'll be like a trope as far as this game is concerned. Everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, you remember that part at the beginning? It's like, I kept missing that timer. So we'll see.
It's not one time. That's the only time I've noticed problems with QuickTime events. And the last...
well, it's because it's a weird a circle meter. It like closes in on the object, and then at first I didn't know if you had to hit it right on the dot or if they hit it in that range.
No, that was the same with me. Is I tried to time it right. Eventually, I found that So for those who don't play it, you're gonna get a little hint here. You don't have to wait till as long as it's in the circle, you can push it.
Yeah. So it's a pretty it was but you're gonna die a couple times before you figure that out. But it's fine. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Now that they know that, and you don't have to wait for to be on perfectly lined up. Like
it's not a dance game. Just remember that.
Yes, it's. It's a good way to put it.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the map and collecting items on the map. So once again, as we've said, this game has a very Uncharted feel, but this is where it separates itself completely. Is where Uncharted is linear, Tomb Raider is open. It still has the linear story, but the maps in terms they are explorable, and you can climb things that are around, and there's a lot of hidden items.
Yeah, some of them you weren't able to climb at the beginning.
Yes, backtrack. Once you have new weapons, you have to find alternate routes to get there, and it's very awesome.
And what facilitates backtracking is the fast travel option.
Yes.
So, a very, very, very easy way to get around the island as long as once you progress to a certain point in the game, you set up camp. And, some of them are just simple, it's basically like a...
Save point.
It's a save point, and I guess more like reusable checkpoints, I guess is a good way to put them.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's more of a reusable checkpoint.
Yeah. So it lets you, you can go back for something you thought you saw earlier that you weren't able to get to. So.
And I mean, there's tons to do on this map. I mean, like I said, there's collectibles, like there's hidden lore books, which are very interesting because they tell you the background and what's going on. prior, and they go. I think there's the ones I found. I mean, there's one from like ancient Japan. There's World War II. There's some newer ones, but I mean, they range all of history. And
There were some that
stuff.
pertain directly to the legend of that particular
Yeah,
island.
that's the ancient Chinese Japanese one.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, those are there. There's like GPS ships that you can find, hidden tombs. What else? Secret challenges.
It really works well because I really wasn't sure what the setting was, and I kind of made it a point to not look into too many spoilers about the game. But considering that it's a very Bermuda Triangle-esque location, it gives them free reign as far as for being able to throw everything in there from from the island's creation date, so to speak, up till the present. So there's a whole there's a whole range of items there throughout world history, that you can discover.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like I said, there's all that plus hidden relics. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff to collect and flesh out the story and like the lore of the game, I guess. And once again, I'm always a fan of collecting things on maps, especially when it's an open map and I have to work for it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think I said it in the previous game as far as collectibles, it's a hit and miss for me, but definitely this one is a hit.
Yeah.
I like that it makes it not super easy, but it makes it a little more accessible.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those collectibles where if you didn't get it during that one QuickTime event, and you'll never get it ever. So
yeah, you can always backtrack.
Yeah, this one is you literally have to make an effort and backtrack in order to find it.
Yeah.
So
all right,
I approve. Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot one thing, and it's a very important thing, and that's the last thing that I actually want to talk about really for gameplay is there's another thing I forgot, which is called survival instincts.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What this does is it not only shows you your objective, but once you get certain upgrades, it will show you where hidden items are. Well, not truly where they are, but give you a better idea of where they're at. Show you where animals are, salvages, burnable things, and enemies, and it's really nice. You can't have it on forever. As soon as you move, it turns off. But it's nice for when you get to the top of a cliff and you hit it, and you can see, kind of make note of where everything's at. Also, it's useful if you get lost, because like I said, the map is a little bigger.
Yeah, it makes it so you're not too reliant on it. It just it helps you out. That's supposed to be what it's for. It's not like those what's a good example? Batman, where it's like, why would you ever turn that off?
Oh yeah, the detective mode.
Detective mode, or Methane Crisis, and there's a
the visor.
Yeah, but at least this one it adds to the exploration or investigative, mode to it.
Yeah, it doesn't give too much away, but it's useful enough to where you want to use it every now and then. Mostly, once again, just in case you get lost. Because I got lost several times because like I said, I like exploring the stupid ledges and figuring out where I need to go and finding hidden things and tombs. All right, so that's it in terms of gameplay. The last thing I want to get into is something I only did because Impressions didn't know if it needed an online pass again, and that's multiplayer.
I mean, I didn't get this game for the multiplayer.
Yeah, well, neither did I. And to be frank, multiplayer feels tacked on. I mean, it's your standard multiplayer and the same base modes, but it doesn't really do anything new. But it's there if you want it, but it's not great. Maybe average at best. But the single player makes up for everything else.
Just FYI, listeners, Uncharted 3 multiplayer went on free to play, so just play that instead.
Yeah, because that's actually better. It is really. So that's my feelings on multiplayer. Is once again, it feels like they just kind of tacked it on to have it. I don't think they should have had it. So, anything else you want to say? Impressions? I pretty much got everything I want out.
Just that this installment is really long overdue. I feel they really did Lara Croft justice as far as her character. Again, her backstory, and I think it's a great game.
All right, so with that, we're going to go into our verdicts. Here at Rule of 3, we do not do a point-based system because I find numbers stupid and arbitrary. Instead, we do a buy, rent, pass system. Buy means it's worth the full price of the game on release because it's just that awesome. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and, worth the money. Rent means, it was okay. It was good or okay. Rent it if, be a little more conscious, maybe rent it or wait for it to go down in price a little bit. But, it's still worthy of a play. Pass means we think it was utter trash, and you should throw it into a trash can and throw that trash can. Never let it see the light of day again. So I'll start. I, Roy Manan, give this game a buy. The game is just phenomenal. It does everything right. I think it's better than Uncharted. And Crystal Dynamics and Square make another one quick, not quickly, but do the same thing, add a little, some new stuff, and I will throw money at it. Impressions, what about you?
I also definitely give it a buy. Like I said, long awaited as far as Tomb Raider is concerned. I'm in love with this version of Lara Croft, and basically, it was a long time before I could find a game that I can actually say was better than Uncharted, and Uncharted was one of my favorite games ever, and this would be the one to top it. So definitely buy the game. High replay value, high enjoyment factor. The delay was the developmental delay was pretty much justified. There's a reason for that, and it was to make this game, the phenomenon that it is.
So there you go, 2 buys. So that's it for Tomb Raider. Next week is God of War Ascension. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure to leave a comment below for entries into the Injustice giveaway, as well as, subscribe to our channel above. Like us on Facebook, Twitter. Check out our website, ruleof3.com, for the written reviews and links to other stuff that we do, news and other fun things. And thanks, Impressions, for joining us. And
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And always remember to trust in the rule of 3.